Fort Lauderdale real estate market update, July of 2025, single family homes edition. Is the Fort Lauderdale single family home market cooling off? Could we still be seeing record high prices? Today we're going to look at the latest real estate data to help you make a better purchase and sales decision on Fort Lauderdale real estate. Because the numbers don't lie, but the media might. Whether you're a buyer, seller, or investor, you've probably heard a lot of conflicting real estate data. We're going to go over statistics like median pricing and how long it's taking to sell a home, and of course my favorite, months of inventory. It's good to be back, Fort Lauderdale. Let's get into the charts.
All right, Lauderdale. We ready to go here? All right. Median sold price, $600,000. For those of you that are new to listening to me, don't pay attention to this statistic. Reason is, you have such a wide dichotomy in pricing between the east and west side of Fort Lauderdale that it makes median pricing pretty much irrelevant. You're free to debate me on it. I feel very strongly about this. I don't think it gives you good representation at all. I think what you realistically have to do is, I would say at some point, sure, just use this as a general yardstick, but you can see how manic this chart is. You can't make heads or tails of it. It's just an unreliable statistic for Lauderdale because the sample size is so small. Anyways, we'll ignore that one. Go on to one that I think does matter a lot. Total number of properties sold in Fort Lauderdale last month. 123. All right, let's look at a few things here. First of all, this is one of the most meaningful statistics. Not a whole lot matters more than how many people are, or how many buyers are stepping forward and saying, yes, I want to purchase. I don't think there's another way to slice that. So historically, the way the wave kind of rides here is we usually bottom out in January, February, but we are usually at a higher peak this time of the year, right? So year over year, we're not down terribly from 145 sales to 123. I do think we're on a downtrend line, and I think it's fair to say we're on the lower half of this chart. So it is a bit concerning. Am I hitting panic button? No. Like I said, it's early in the year to be this low on sales, but if we crack below 100, I think that would kind of be a little bit of a wake-up call here. But look, for the last 3 years, we've been range-bound, and we've gone down as low as 97 sales. So while we don't have a whole lot of wiggle room left in the single-family home world here, we do have some wiggle. I also want to point out a lot of doom and gloom out there in the media and the papers about Florida real estate, right? You would expect this chart to look worse than it actually does, which is why I kind of like to give this data out. And to be quite honest, I've been incredibly busy and I wasn't planning on doing a Lauderdale update, but I wanted to do it just because I wanted to combat so much of the nonsense that's out there. And I get a lot of you guys that have purchased with me that still watch all these. They call me up and ask me what's going on, and I think the media is just scaring a lot of people pretty bad. So I wanted to clear up some of the nonsense anyways. All right, the sold to list price ratio. Sold to list price ratio tells you at what percentage of a property's original listing price sales are actually taking place at. Here we see, let's just call it 95%. Again, this chart's been range bound, for a couple of years now. A few takeaways from this. First, if you're a seller and you want to say, I'm not negotiating on price. My price is my price. I'm not moving. I think you're going to get left out in the cold. If you still think we're back here, you're going to get left out in the cold. I'm doing this now over 15 years. This is the most challenging market that I've worked in. That includes '08. '08 was different. There were buyers everywhere. Yeah, that wasn't a problem. Right now, buyers, look, here is a difference between 2008 and now. Buyers, you can't fire offers 20% off listing price and think that you're going to get too far. Those deals are pretty few and far between. So I think what this chart tells me anyways, and again, let me back up for a second. The buyers want this chart to be lower, right? Because it just says on average, they're allowed to negotiate more. If you're firing off low offers as a buyer, you're probably not going to get taken seriously in this market. And sellers, if you're inflexible, you're probably going to get passed over in this market. My message to everybody is you have to negotiate in this market, but negotiate within reason. Not too hard, right? Another statistic I am a big fan of, median days on market. I kind of look at this honestly as a pressure gauge. The lower this number is, the higher pressure there is on buyers because they have to make a split decision. Down here where you had 17 days on market, if you saw something on Monday, that following Monday, you better be making a decision on that property. 49 days on market, if you see something in the beginning of the month, you don't even have to make a decision until the end of the month. I also want to point out, this is the time a property is on market from active until pending. It does not include the time it takes to close. So if somebody is on a 30 or a 45 day contract, you're looking at 80 to 95 days in order to get money into your bank account. So let's just call it 3 months. From the time that you put your property on market till the time you get money in your bank account as a seller, it's probably going to be 3 months. So I think that's important to set expectations and build that timeline in. Look, again, higher days on market, it's going to favor buyers. Lower days on market, going to favor sellers. I thought, quite honestly, by now we would have higher days on market. My guess was we were going to be around 60 days before I pulled the charts. It definitely feels to me much more like we're in a buyer's market. And to be totally honest with you right now, I would rather work with a buyer than a seller when looking at a single family home in Fort Lauderdale. Certainly if you're looking at a condo or a townhome, I'd rather work with a buyer. But I still think we're buyer's advantage right now. And I don't really see that changing coming into fourth quarter anyways. So that's my often broken crystal ball. Median price per square foot. If you've been listening to me a while, do we pay attention to this? No! Look, same reasoning. Sample size is just way too small. If there's just too wide of a spread here. So, look at it. I think the only thing you can do is look at it and say, okay, over the past 5 years, pricing is up and to the right. So prices are up over the last 5 years. That's fair to say. It's also fair to say that this statistic can be deceptively high because people aren't buying the DIY stuff. I don't have a buyer now, nor have I had a buyer for the last, year and a half, 2 years, maybe 3 at this point even, that said to me, ooh, I want a place to make my own. That's done and gone. I think people tried that. They got into permitting. That it's a heavy lift unless you're just doing some very basic improvements to a property. And I think people are basically shunning those kind of properties in favor of properties that are in complete condition. Moreover, to cut to the point, what I've been telling sellers when I sit with them is, look, if you want to sell the property, you have to be the best condition and the best price given the comps that we're looking at. And if you're not, it's going to be a long road. There's just not enough buyers out there to try to do any kind of aspirational pricing. It just doesn't work. So if you have something in rough shape, just understand you're probably going to get low offers, and you're not alone. It is what it is. Total dollar volume of single-family home sales in Fort Lauderdale, brushing up against 125 million. Is this chart important? Nope. Nope. Look, in case you haven't checked the sale prices around Las Olas Isles, parts of waterfront by Coral Ridge, some of these sale prices, 3 or 4 of them a month, are going to cause this kind of spike, right? In the absence of those on a given month, you're going to get this. This chart has become so unreliable in Lauderdale because, again, you have these extraordinary prices are just eye-popping right now. You know, considering I moved to Lauderdale 17 years ago, Candace and I did, and I mean, I'm completely blown away by a lot of the pricing on the high side now. And you have to mix that with pricing that's closer to 95. I mean, you're in totally different worlds of pricing. So, you know, again, hate to say, let me show you the statistics. Don't look at the statistics. You just got to look at the right statistics. That's all. This isn't one of the right statistics. Look, before I move on, if you've been thinking about buying or selling in Fort Lauderdale, easiest thing to do is call or text me, 786-443-7203. Down below in the description here, I'll put a contact form so you could fill that out or email me. However you want to get in touch with me, however you're comfortable. Look, I have helped an awful lot of people that I've met through doing these videos. Congrats if you were with me on my original blog. You know, on that original email list, there's still over 700 people who found me before YouTube. And so it's pretty wild at this point after all these years. But anyways, this is largely how I've conducted and built my business. So don't be shy. Reach out to me. Month's supply of inventory. For those of you that have been watching for a while, you know this is my favorite. This gives you a better crystal ball than any other statistic that's out there, in my opinion. Quick little refresher here. It is said that 6 months of supply is to favor neither buyers nor sellers. Consider it a neutral market. Here, I'd say we're closer to 5 months if you look across these 5 years. So I would use 5 years as our midpoint, not the national 6 month. If you view it through that lens, we are firmly in a buyer's market. Over the last 12 months, 23% more inventories come online. The only thing that changes this month of supply number is if more listings come online or fewer listings are online, or if the pace of sales steps up or slows down. This tells you that right now, at the current level of sales, it would take 7.56 months to empty all of the inventory that we have. Look, the lower that we are on this chart, the better it is for sellers, because buyers have fewer options, they can't be picky, and you as a seller don't have to do a lot of the things that you don't like to do, like repairs and upgrades and getting things ready for market. Until this starts to curve down, this is going to be a tougher and tougher market for sellers. If you come to me now and tell me you want to list your home for sale, there's a couple of things I'm going to ask you. First is, do you want to sell your home or do you need to sell your home? Because if you just want to sell it, I'm probably going to tell you now's not the time. Hang on to it. It's a tough fight right now. If you need to sell it, then we have to have conversation about how to position it properly and how to get you more exposure than any other listing in that price bracket, because it's hard right now. It's hard. The only thing that I really think, look, by now I thought we were going to peak on inventory. I thought supply by now was going to start to come back down. I'll tell you why I thought that was going to happen. I thought sellers were going to have listings that were going to expire because they were going to be priced too high, or they and they were going to come off market, and they're not pressured sellers. They have tons of equity, low interest rates. And I thought they were going to pull those homes off the market and just say, I'm picking my ball up and I'm going home. I don't want to play today. By and large, it's not happening. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on this. But look, sellers, I don't want to sound like a negative Nancy, but you're definitely not out of the woods yet. All right, Lauderdale. This felt like kind of a coming home here at the midway point of the year. Again, thank you to all of you who did call, text, or email me to find out what was going on, what I'm doing, and why you haven't got a video lately. I've honestly been busy despite a rough market, but I don't forget those of you that have watched and viewed for a very long time. So please do reach out and call me if I can do anything for you. Always happy to have the conversations. Of course, if you're new, if you only watch this one time and you want to call me, hey, I'm a laugh a minute to talk to. Give me a call. All right, guys. I'll see you soon. Thanks again.